30 years. 30 years. It seems like it was just yesterday, doesn't it? So many times, people have asked us like, how do you learn all this? And it's like, well, you learn by doing. And that's the whole thing. You learn
Yeah.
by doing. And Guy, you're in the beautiful town of, well, outside, right, of Seattle.
Yeah,
Um,
just north.
just north. Okay. So for me, I'm a little bit south, I guess you would say. I'm right about 30 minutes from the coast outside of Houston, and we're in a little town called Beaumont, which is on I-10. It's many people have passed through it and blinked at it as they were passing through. Now they've got a very long blink. We have construction that is beyond construction. We're on the I-10 corridor, so they've decided to rebuild the corridor, and there's a corner in Beaumont. So that whole ident, it's probably going to be about 20 years realistically. It's going to be nasty.
So
They've
you,
just
you got
started.
more than two stoplights now?
I can count nearly every day. They're like, yeah, we're only backed up about 3 miles today. So that's the growing thing. It's not the weather or anything like that. It's how long is the backup of traffic? And it's nuts. It's just so terrible. But we've got plenty of ways to get away from it now. And I don't really work a lot from here, except whenever I'm doing these virtual events and things like that. Much like you were working from home, we've been working from our offices here in Beaumont for quite a while, and remotely producing things, and so that kind of brings me to where we are today. Um, it was about 7 or 8 years ago, I guess, that we were doing so much of the remote production just kind of grew from what we were doing at the time as professional tennis, and we were just trying to be smart about it. I've always tried to push the envelope and everything, and one of the things we were doing was remoting as many of those positions as we could. We went from remoting just graphics, which was like the simplest, easiest thing to do because you're just team viewer, splash top, whatever at the time, remote control into the machine that's on site, and then that person was just incrementing the graphics. So as what as we call in the sports world, a bug op, score bug op. Then after that, I think probably the next step was probably replay. I was pushing for that so that we could actually have more people involved because the contract didn't really have a setup to do, like, we weren't doing 4 or 5 angles of replay. We were doing 2 or 3, but it was mostly two cameras really that we were doing replay. So a lot of it we could do ourselves, but we couldn't build like packages and stuff fast enough because the person that was doing replay was also doing more so of I guess you would call it a TD position, director position, and producer position. So it was we were definitely guerrillaing it to say the least. So as we started looking at getting more people involved, it's like, how can we do this without having to worry about all the extra travel and everything else that we were doing. So that was about 5 6 years ago when we really started tweaking it and getting it sorted. I guess now 7 years ago, because about right after we got really good with our solutions that we put into place with cameras also. So that was the next step, was remoting cameras and truly just basically handing off production on the secondary or third or tertiary courts. We were handling that off to guys that remote, so they were remoting into the switcher. They were controlling it remotely, and then at the same time they were moving cameras, and we were driving cameras just like we were on site. Now these are robotics, these are not PTZs, but we were also using some PTZs too. But it's all about the processing that how we were doing it. We worked out the process to do it. So VPNs came into play. It was a little bit more of a it was a whole it was a whole lot of, let's test this and see how it works. And so there were a few times, there was a few locations like schools, especially the universities. So it was like we'd have these great bandwidth, but the bandwidth was limited because we couldn't do VPNs in and out, or we couldn't do certain things in order to get control. So that
So in
was
those
a
early
big
days
part.
back with Splashtop, or was it TeamViewer, or what were you doing? How was the operator from afar going into that? Was it
We had to have
screen
team viewer
capture like
license.
NDI, KVM?
Oh man, I wish we had. Well, NDI KVM really did come into play more in the cloud for us later. That really did come into play for us, but TeamViewer, that was That was the
It's
8,
a little
9.
rough. I mean, it works, but
Yeah.
little rough on
Not
the
the
frame rate
greatest.
and picture
Yes.
quality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was one of the things we ran into. Is like we were doing actual, cameras where we needed to focus. So it gave me a lot of things to improve upon. And so TeamViewer was the easiest thing to get into. And we had multiple licenses. We kept expanding it out. I mean, we had 10 users. I probably had 120 machines on it that we could touch on at any point in time. And that really kind of came into play on, like each system we sent out. And so we were running multiple systems, multiple trucks. Everything had TeamViewer access to it. And our clients also used TeamViewer for some of their things. So it was just common at that point. Splashtop, I actually have been playing with Splashtop since, think about this, Windows Media Center edition. You remember that?
Gosh, that was a
Windows
long
Media.
time ago.
Yes. So that's how I was.
Vaguely, I mean, it's old.
That is for sure. That's how a friend of mine, Will Waters from Audinay, he and I were going back and forth trying to figure out ways to watch content. And we were watching. We both had Windows Media Center Edition servers set up in our homes and all. We were wanting to watch content off of it, and I think he's the one that introduced me into it. And in Splashtop, and so I was using Splashtop on an iPad, I think at the time. Maybe it was on a computer. I can't even remember that far back, but it had the best of video playback at the time. So that's how long I've been around knowing of Splashtop. I didn't really get heavy back into it because I was spending so much money with TeamViewer, like $8,000 or $9,000. Um, yeah, it was rough.
That is
It was
rough.
every year, but the
They
way
get you.
I
Yeah.
broke it down is like for the time, whenever I was doing that, especially now that we're rolling out the service, I think about this. It's like, well, how much money did I save every month, every year? I saved so much money. It was worth it. So for me, it was just the cost of doing business, and that's the way I looked at it.
Yeah, there's a comfort level there too when you get people that don't have to travel. Tucker explained it to me really well with his kids and everything in his house. Like being able to, well, Jonas first saw Tucker's lifestyle of like, hey, I don't have to go on the road and leave the kids. It's just if I want to take a break and quality of life, go hang out with them for a little bit. And I hadn't really thought of it that way, like the quality of life of not going on the road, getting, um, sick, or a lot of people are coming back from NAB with some kind of bug, and that's tying them up for another 2 days. So not only are we talking about Ubers and flights and baggage fees and food and hotel and all that, there's fees as far as like your recovery days for getting back from these trips. So the remote part of it's just it's crazy to think how we used to do things, and I'm off the road as well. I'll go out every once in a while, but I'm not nearly the road warrior that I mean, I'd be on the road 3 weeks out of the month, and I'm happy to be more able to sit here with my 10 gig connection and my sub millisecond latency on my fiber line that makes it so I can, when I hit cut. I mean, this is the panel that I use when I hit cut on this panel. I mean, it's instant. So the
It
timing
is,
wise, I can get
and
things
you
just
get used to it. Yeah, right. You adapt and you get used to it, and that's definitely one of the things that for most of our production stuff. I mean, we were doing sports, so there is some timing to be involved in that. So that is something we had to kind of learn to back time some things, especially if you're kind of cutting to a commentators and such. But it's still a skill, and we just learned it, and that's exactly. But you're absolutely right. The reason I spent $250,000 plus on remoting these cameras and having all this technology that helped us support us doing remote productions, the whole reason for it was because I could keep my staff around for longer. They didn't get burnt out because we were going for weeks, months at a time. I remember one time we did the math, my tour bus never came back to Texas for 3 months. It just
wow.
went bouncing around the country. So that means I was flying some people in and out, but what in this time we were doing a lot of remotes. We're doing a lot of remote operations, but what it allowed us to do is I could take this guy over here and he could work 2 weeks offsite or on site, and then he could come back home and work a week from the office or work from a week from his house. Like I've got guys that were in Lafayette, Louisiana. It's only a couple hours for them, but there's no reason they needed to come here to the office. They could work from home, just like you're doing now, and they were working on a lot less than 10 gig. I'm so jealous.
It's the fastest residential internet in the country. I'm lucky to be in a neighborhood where they just happen to
I
offer
am
it.
so very jealous. I think I could get two out of my my AT&T fiber. I think maybe five. I've heard some rumors about it. They are laying it now. I'm in my offices here, so they are laying it near my home, and I keep trying to find a guy that speaks English well enough that I could actually ask him a question about it, and more technical stuff. So hopefully they may be branching out and giving us some better speeds in this area. But 5 gigs is amazing. 10's just insane. So whenever we started thinking about all this stuff that we did, when I was getting back to is like, we were able to give our guys a quality of life, sir. And that was it. It was exactly what you described about Tucker being able to say, hey, I could go play with my kids for a couple hours whenever there's a break. Or if I wanted to, I could take and just go down to the store and grab a bite to eat, or go to the restaurant, grab a bite to eat that's with my family, not having to worry about, well, here I am at another, it used to be another Bennigan's, drinking a beer and having a sandwich or something, or whatever. It's not like that anymore. And so I think that's where times are really, we had to change in COVID. That pushed us into a lot of this remote stuff. It pushed us, and I say remote more than I probably say cloud, even though I did a whole lot of cloud and I've done a lot of cloud. Remote is really where we were. That's where we were at. So we were doing a hybrid remote, a hybrid REMI, where we were controlling things that are there, but we also had cloud resources that we were doing. I've been in the cloud for 10 plus years. So it's a matter of what resources made the most sense financially, and also benefits of those resources with everything. So that's kind of how things have changed a little bit for us. Now, as we are, I'm looking over a couple of things so we have some chat going. Thank you guys for showing up on the YouTube. I see some chat down here. So yeah, my audio is a little low. I had to knock it down because it was a little hot on Guy. I've brought it back up. So hopefully, looking at my levels now, it looks like I'm about trimmed down. So hopefully that's a little bit better. Maybe I could just turn down Guy just a little bit, and we'll leave it out just a little bit. We don't have a whole lot more people on the panel today. It's just kind of keeping it simple as we get things going. But as we were talking about remote productions, it was always invariably, every time I tried to bring somebody on board, it was a struggle. And this is 7, 8, 9 years ago. It was always, okay, do you have this? Number one, what kind of computer do you have? We were primarily PC based, have been for a long time. But the PC side, we had the software for our cameras control. The Mark Roberts motion control software was PC only, period. So we didn't even run on in a VM like Parallels, or you could run it in a straight up Mac that's flipped into, what was it, Boot Camp at the time. I have one Mac that I keep around it runs Windows, but whatever, it's just still around. And then I have my Mac Mini that's just running Unity. But whenever we were doing the remote stuff and setting up somebody, it was like, okay, what do you have? One of the things I found about guys that had Macs, or people that had Macs, they usually were old. They're very rarely, or like you, breathing edge, got to get the M4s, got to get the latest one out, and things like that. Sometimes they would hold a Mac on for like 5, 6, 7, 8 years. And to attest, they do last that long. Like I said, I've got that one MacBook that's probably 10 years old now, but speed and things like that didn't keep up. So I found that that was a lot harder to bring people on. Now it'd be a lot easier, and especially with what we're about to talk about in NIMBUS is how we're or taking a different route. It's not platform dependent. So that's kind of one of the things that when we were onboarding people, it made it really challenging to bring, say, for instance, I would go out and say, okay, let's use you, for instance, guy, I need you to have this remote control software. Oh, that doesn't work on your machine. Okay, so let's try this remote control software. So we'd have 2 or 3 choices of remote control software. Then we would have, okay, well, you need comms. Okay, well, I don't have that app. Okay, we'll go here, get this app. Okay, well, I need the login information. Got to create a login information, da, da, da. One thing after another. There was just one more, I guess, time. And I look at his time as money. It's like we spent so much time having to onboard something. Now, if it was my normal employees that we would have them set up with a laptop that I would just completely build just for that purpose that they would bring home. Like Dwayne that used to work for me full time, he had a laptop that I gave him that had everything on it that he could possibly have, and I had remote access to it. I wouldn't necessarily ask that to a lot of freelancers that would work for us from time to time, but onboarding them always seemed to take a lot extra time. And then as we got better at this, we started using things like, VPN tunnels and things like that existed at the time. And we were using one of them that we really liked was Hamachi because it worked really well through a lot of different places. But every once in a while it'd get blocked. So we'd have to have a backup for that. And that's kind of where we got to is like, well, we had a pretty good formula, and in that formula would be always if this works, then go here. And if this doesn't work, go here. So it was a whole lot of if-then decision making to go through it. As we were able to make our way through those processes, we were able to create a really good workflow, but it still took time. And so my idea at that time, which was 8 or 9 years ago now, was we really just need a way that we could have everything bundled as one, make it simple, log in, secure, so that we don't have to worry about handing out people credentials or having to worry about building something unique for somebody. And it just it kept germing in the back of my mind. COVID hit, everything went off the rails, and I just kind of like put it aside for a while. And then we started thinking more about it though, whenever we started doing cloud, because the whole thing started all over again. It's like, well, do you have this to get on? Do you have this to get on? Do you have this to get on? And then, eventually we had a pretty good workflow of that too. And the one thing that really, I've probably mentioned this on other shows, the one thing that really got to me was giving away the keys of our castle. Being able to give somebody that was a freelancer, that maybe somebody I don't know really intimately, or they have no real relationship with me that other than they're clocking in to make $1. That is one of the things that I had call it zero trust, as many people do, but I just didn't want to give them all the different little pieces that they needed to be. We needed to keep people siloed and let them just do the job they're hired for, but they didn't need exposure to everybody else's. And it came up to one of my clients. We were doing an event. What was it? It was probably one of the events in Vegas. Last year, did you make it out to the Worry Studios when we took that tour?
I did not.
Oh man, you missed a good one. Okay, so the Worry Studios were built in 2020. Yeah, I think it was
2020 for a Tony Robbins event.
Yeah,
that's the one where all the IMAX were in a row.
It wasn't for Tony. They wanted to rent Tony's studio. So Tony did it first, and this was 2020, so July 2020. And then Eric Worre said, "Hey Tony, I want to rent your studio." And Tony was like, "No, I don't want it." So it was kind of one of those things. Well, okay, fine, I'll build my own, and that's exactly what he did. $22 million later, or whatever it was. Yeah, it's actually a better studio, all in all, than what Tony's is. But it was built in mind that they were going to rent it out and do all kinds of other things, and they have done very well with it. But anyway, that studio, tons of Macs, probably 60 Macs. And that was just because that's what people used. My buddy Blue got us involved in this group also. And so as we were working with them, he they're in network marketing. So network marketing is how it used to be like Amway and things like that, but it's a totally different business now. But the network marketing, they're building upon these networks. And there was one of the times he goes, hey, here's my credentials to my YouTube, Facebook and YouTube both. Here's my credentials. Just log in as me. And I just had this feeling in my stomach, like, wow, that's a lot of trust. And that's a lot on my shoulders, that if something goes wrong or something gets out, that could come back to me. And so that was one of the reasons why I was like, I don't want to have to put other people in that position. I don't want other people to feel like I have the keys to, turn on a stream for SpaceX or, not SpaceX. They're a private company that does their own thing, but still same concept. It's like, we wouldn't want just anybody to have a YouTube key and a password. So, or Facebook at the time. He had millions of followers, and it made me nervous. And so that also brought me back to, as we were thinking about the control side of this, it's like security, make absolutely sure that people can be siloed. Job titles that are job titles for reasons, and a producer or an executive director type, they could have those keys, but the person that's maybe the ESC needs the keys, but maybe the person that's the audio, just doing audio A2, they don't need to see it. They don't need to have it. So that's kind of where my mindset was whenever we were building into NIMBUS, is building more and more of that security side. So that's really where we work, just kind of starting with. And so security was the first and the foremost piece of the whole pie that we really started at. So behind it all is what we call the gateway. So there's a NIMBUS gateway that's built into our deployment. So at our office here, we have a gateway. At our cloud infrastructure, we have a gateway. Those gateways could talk to each other. And they're also what's holding the keys in order to be able to say, okay, you get access, you don't get access. So in one of our situations, we may have somebody like me that's an ESC type admin, somebody that needs to touch all the different pieces, but most of the time we wanted to make it simple. So for instance, we would want to go in and let's get that up. Okay, so this is the basic login where they start, and then they just drop down. And so it's starting from organizations into projects, and then you can have multiple projects underneath an organization. An organization could be like a company, and then underneath that is the actual project. Then under the project, we just recently flipped this around, and I like this better because you have a project links. So we have the ability just to click on it and have it open up the shared project of the Google Sheet, which so many of us have, right? And that's how a lot of people are doing their things. And so it's easy to share. But then at the same time, you don't have to go find a link, and you don't have to go dig through your emails and things like that. But this user, which is actually my Jared's login, he only sees, well, he has producer on there, but he's going to be A1. So the A1 would be here. Currently, that stuff is offline, or it could be the producer view here. Same situation, same places where we need to have it. Everything comes back up, and like in the producer view here, we have a rundown that's going down on the left side that we're using on time to help drive us into that, but it could be pretty much anything in that module. Then in the middle there, that's for some reason didn't come up, but there's a video for a program video. And then on the right side is it's a link to one of our NIMBUS discords, but it could be any discord at that point, but it's embedded, it's simple. That was another thing that I found, is that whenever I was working so many of these virtual events, especially, I was having to juggle WhatsApp on my phone. I was having to juggle Discord. A lot of us were using Discord as a chat thread, or as a way, even for comms, even for that matter. And it does work as comms in there too. So you could have a voice call in the module also if you needed to use it for comms, and so you're instantly logged into it. You're ready to go. The thing was I was having to do that on a phone, and I'd be sitting there looking at trying to respond to it. Well, I could type really fast with a keyboard, but not necessarily on my phone. So I was like, I want to do this. I want to be able to look at these things in the same interface, but still be able to keep on time and still be able to see what's going on instead of splitting my focus back and forth between devices. So that was another thing. It was a pain point for me that I was trying to make easier for the end user. So simplify, make it easier for the end user in a secure way. So securely and simply.
So at NAB this past year, did you happen to drop by any of the booths that had anything similar where like some of the big guns are like charging, thousands of dollars, like any of the Grass Valleys or Rosses or any of these guys that have built-in automation on their run of shows? Did you happen
Yeah,
to?
I did. And most of them that I've seen, short of probably the closest thing that where we're at, and we hadn't even talked about the automation side necessarily, but the closest thing that I could say that is similar to what we were rolling out is maybe Hive a little bit, which is from PTZ Optics, but their focus is of course selling cameras. So
Yeah.
so for them, selling cameras is their primary focus, and at the same time, that's what Hive is about: controlling cameras and moving cameras, presets, etc., things like that. We could do a whole lot of that ourselves within there's like 5 different ways I could control a camera, and it's just another module. It's another embedded path in order to do that. So that's already part of it, but it was more so about being able to give those people more secure access to each one of those pieces too. They're close. I did not get a chance to look over the Ross stuff for automation very closely, very much, or Grass's AMP effectively. They're ahead of me. I would say they're definitely ahead of us. There's a whole lot there. There's a couple other small companies out there that are doing similar things in platforms, but or software as a service, whichever way you look at it. And we're going to be competitors in some way, and then other ways we're not. So there's definitely some competition in the market. I still feel like the market's huge, and we all can have our own very varied ways of doing things that are just a little bit different. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is all so new and cutting edge, and I think people like LiveX, they've figured out a way to spin up instances and throw a nice pretty interface on it.
Mm-hmm.
We've got TVU Networks is doing some interesting stuff. Hive and the guys behind Hive, there's another company that developed some of the stuff
Iris.
that they OEM'd.
Yeah.
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 So there's all these different disparate companies that are taking pieces, but a lot of them, I don't know if they've been doing true remote production for a long time, that I think they're jumping, some of them are just jumping on the bandwagon and trying to solve one little piece, and they're trying to do it well and trying to discover a business model. But it sounds like you're trying to connect a lot of with Google Sheets, it's a lot that you're loading into one interface.
And that's the whole thing that we're trying to do is to keep it simple and secure. Is where the message I'm trying to push is that simple, secure. Everything needs to be secure, but at the same time, it needs to be simple enough that everybody can work it. And that's
so. If I'm a replay operator, kind of walk me through what do I see? Do I get my own multi-view? Like, how does that work? Am I splash topped in with a multi-view, or
with a lot of the devices out there that we could control, say for instance for replay, most of the time we will use sometimes vMix. Have you ever heard of that vMix thing? It's pretty popular. Yeah. People starting to catch on. But we also have in our arsenal, we have 3P2s. So these are 3P2s from previously new
with the controller.
Yeah. So with the controller, you can actually tunnel in, and it carries that information across. We use a couple of different middlewares to be able to bring that to the IP side. One of our favorite, without a doubt, is another control platform called Central Control.
Central Control.
Yeah.
How did I know you were going to say that? That's
Well,
funny.
Central Control is developed by a friend of mine. Those that know me, I don't hold back whenever I say it is probably the best thing on the market when it comes to any just multiple device controls, both on the endpoints that you're controlling and also on the control side itself too. It's super flexible. My friend Jodamax and I work closely on it, and we this recent version that he's actually released in version 5, I've got a lot of input, a lot of reasons for it. So you'll see some of that here. But that is one of the
Not
things.
released yet. It's still in beta, but you can
Yes, you
the
can be in the
normal
beta
folks
now.
can
Yes.
download the beta. So I just
Yeah.
downloaded it yesterday. So I
Oh,
just wanted to make sure that the public knew that it's not for
yeah.
everybody
Not
just
not
yet.
not released
But I
yet.
could see your influence in it. I could see where all this is starting to come together, and his software is amazing though for all the control of all the different panels and all USB and MIDI and being able to talk and communicate and translate. It's a Swiss Army knife.
That's exactly the way I approach it too. Yeah, exactly. It is a Swiss Army knife of many sorts. And so we're using a lot of his stuff in the background to help that middleware stuff. But there's also other things that we're using in the foreground too. You'll see that in a minute. But whenever we're doing for the replay, let's see, looking at this screen here, this is my login. As I'm choosing, I'll go back to one of the demos. So I have underneath here, these are the normal project links, like I said. And so not only do I have a Google Sheet, but if I wanted to look at, say, for instance, our Sienna processing engine, which is a virtual engine of a whole lot of other glue that we use, and we can tie that into it. But even a local PC, if I wanted to just splash top directly into it, it's one click away and we're into that local PC. So like this one right here is running Central Control Core. So that's on one of our little nooks that we have here in the offices. And then the AWS mix instances, that is the same thing. It's going to go straight in. That one's using a different protocol. It's using NICE DCV, which I know you're quite familiar of, using a lot. And then the start infrastructure, that's the big go button. That's just like turn it all on. So because I'm a super user or an admin user in this profile, I see a lot more things, and I can assign each one of those links. I can assign to members that are in this project or even across projects if need be. So we can reuse things like user panels. We can reuse and reassign to different projects. You can see what projects here from the top to the bottom, what they're assigned into, and then what people are allowed to actually see those members that are actually on there too. Under the machines that I'm able to see, the machines filter allows me to see what groups we have of machines that are assigned to a project and where they are. Say, for instance, this US East 1, that's my region of AWS. And so those 6 machines, if I wanted to turn them all on at once, I hit the play button, boom, they're going to fire up in a few minutes, and everything's going to be available and start showing up sources and things like that to us. So that's how we're kind of breaking things down. You can kind of see the organizations. So it's organizations to projects, down from the projects or the underneath the things that are part of it, links and user panels. So whenever we go down to back to the regular dashboard and we pick up our project that we're working on, and then I said, if I was just doing replay, well, I wouldn't have all this other stuff on here. It'd just be that one. So I go into the replay. The replay in this instance here, I can actually set it so that I have whatever the display, whatever I need on the display. So this one, I actually have a vision mixer coming off the Sienna processing engine currently. And then if I wanted to edit and move things around, this guy here, if I needed to go in and edit that module, say for instance right here, this is I'm using secure iframes as embeds for each one of those. So if I wanted to type in another one, let's try this guy here, and then I save it in, it's going to load that. And this is something to definitely point out, is like, if I am, there's a to local, and you probably hear some beeping in the background. Yeah, all right, that's my UPS griping at me apparently, which is cool, because I normally don't hear it from my office. So this may have been going off for a while and I didn't even know about it until it just started up again. Batteries and UPSs. Oh my gosh. So many of them. So let's go back to it. So editing means that I can move it around. I can draw this out and make the corners. I could resize it, everything that I wanted to do. And then I have two options. So I could save locally, or I could save to cloud. Earlier, I saved it to the cloud. So if I want to go back, I just reset. Now I'm right back to where I was. So we're trying to make it as simple as possible. So every time that you log in, you could log in and have a blank desktop like this if you wanted to, and then just start. You would have to know, of course, yes, you would have to know what you wanted to put in the modules and things like that. That's one thing, but you at the same time have the ability, if you wanted to, you could actually have like that one right there. Or that's another thing I'll come back to in just a second. But you could also have like a sheet of links that you wanted to, and we could build this out for you. So it could be a managed service to go into it, or it could be something that you rebuild yourself, and whatever you assign in this desktop here, or multiple desktops. So if you had a multiple monitors, you could log into multiple monitors. Right now, I actually have a camera set up, I believe. Yeah, right there. So right here, I actually have logged in through my iPad, through the Wi-Fi, and that is actually coming through a separate internet that I'm actually can switch, and I'll probably switch myself off. Yeah, there we go. So I can switch and control, and you can see in the bottom there, that is this display for, get back out, the technical director, I believe is what I'm on. Nope, ESE. Okay, so speaking of central control, and yes, it's going to window up and do the infinite thing there, but you can see how fast the latency is into it. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So the latency is quick. I have what could be, I don't actually have a touchscreen on this monitor, but it could be touchscreen, or it could be button clicks like I'm doing here, or as we would always want, hardware, right? So that could be, where's that Stream Deck? I had one in my hand just a minute. Oh, here it is. It could be a small Stream Deck. It could be a large Stream Deck. It could be a studio, whatever you want. We can still use a lot of the same methods of getting control to the cloud or to the remote machines, because it's more than cloud. It's all of remote machines too. Because I'm doing a mixture right now. It's like I have a TC2 that's over in the rack. I have a processing engine that's in a virtual machine, 2 layers of virtual machines technically, that's in the rack. I have my own private cloud, so I have another machine, the one that I showed you, this guy here, that is actually running off of a virtual machine that's in that same cluster. So we're leveraging a lot of different machines in a lot of different places that allows us to remote into it and maximize the power of all of that. So circling back to one of the things I did pop up was that HTTP, HTTPS, the difference between those, S meaning it being secure. So with that, one of the things our gateway allows us to do is we actually can wrap just standard HTTP, like all the stuff coming from Joe from Central Control. It's not HTTPS, it is just standard HTTP, which is great, but you have to open up ports. I don't have to do that with the gateway. So with the gateway is acting as a translator, I can actually put things behind the gateway, it secures it, and then I'm using gateway links at that. So I can create links. And I don't have a pretty GUI to show that right now, but eventually we will, and make it as user-friendly as for the end user as possible. Currently right now, it's a little bit more having to type some things in, paste some things in, test some things there. But that's where we're headed, is the gateways helping us automate a lot of things that we couldn't get remote control to before. So there are a couple other platforms out there. You may have ran across of them, but that allow you to just embed iframes. And that's great as long as it does an iframe. But if it doesn't, can't use it. So our gateway allows us to do that. So that's a big key behind us, is all the work that our lead developer, Brandon Kalinowski, that works for me, has been with me for a few years now. And he has done a really knockdown job, great job on this product, and the gateway was one of his biggest hurdles to his thought process behind it, and the way he's making it work. Now it's deployable, and we can easily put it anywhere. So say for instance in your data center that you have there, your home data center, and call it home, it's I hate when people are like, oh, it's just your home office. So I'm like, I've got more power in my home office than I have in a lot of people have in a data center itself. um, but whenever you are there, we could put a gateway running on a small, it could be on like hardly any hardware at all, that would do the translation. So any of the hardware that you have there could then been put into the service of the gateway, through the gateway into Nimbus at that point. Does that make sense? Kind of.
Yeah, how is that? That's because is it just running on a small, like a, you could run it on a Raspberry Pi or a Nook, or what kind
A
of
small
power
Nook for
do you
sure.
do for Gateway?
Yeah, we're
Okay,
running on a
but
small Nook
not,
here.
but you don't need to get like one of for controlling NAB's FR7s last year through for office hours. I had my little GLI net router, and then they had a another VPN set up at the other side. I don't remember. I think it was a
It was a
PepWave.
Peplink.
So
A Peplink. Yeah,
okay, so did you did you help set that up? I think it was.
yeah. I think
It's,
Jonas did most of the work on that, but I use Peplinks myself a lot, so that was
so in
one of the
this,
things.
is it slower if you don't have the hardware to get behind this gateway? Like, am I adding latency? Like, if I need to cut on
It's
that, when I'm hearing it in my ears.
millisecond. It's so fast you can't even tell.
Okay,
I'm like,
all
I
right.
mean, I'm cutting on the central control now through the gateway as it's translating. So once it establishes the connection, then it has a fast connection at that point. I haven't tried, and you've got me thinking now. We need to Dockerize it. That's one of the things we're probably going to do then. But right now it is running on Linux. So any machine that we're running, we can run it on Linux. Um, but put in a Docker would make sense, because we actually, I was speaking of on time earlier. So this just, man, I love this stuff. Carlos is the guy behind it, and like here, as you can see now, and this one I actually have it is working. So within this on time, this ran whenever you did the tennis thing with us, guy, we
Yeah.
actually used it last year. And so on time is just a fantastic, just effectively a run a show of sorts, but it's just a lot like show flow or any of the other show programs that are out there, just to do a scripted type show, or non-scripted even for that matter. So we ran that in a Docker on a Peplink, which blew my mind.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, because
So
people are just saying that you'll be able to run NDI Bridge in a Docker as a joiner uh, on some of these switches, and I was like, I never even thought about that. That's crazy that you could just run it inside of there. But that, yeah, it's lightweight, if you only have a certain amount of feeds. But I had never thought about what you're doing,
well,
running little apps
they're now
in the
putting,
switch.
yeah, you could do NDI bridge on an actual camera. So it's running
Yeah.
on the little bitty hardware that's in a camera now. So for me, um, I don't know how light we can go yet. We haven't tried, honestly. I mean, because it's just it's running on a virtual machine currently right now. So it's like two CPUs or something. It's ridiculous. It's not a whole lot of power. But the idea is that it's the translator that helps us tie it all together and keep things moving forward without having to worry about the security side of it, of opening up 20, 30, 40, 50 ports. Like if I make a deployment with a Sienna processing engine, I probably have to open up 100 ports. If you really are really busy with it and doing a lot of ingesting of SRT, or a lot of ingesting of different things, or control of different parts of it, I don't want to do that. I would prefer not to. So this is another thing that allows us to be a control layer on the front of a Sienna processing engine, and there's not all that infrastructure being opened up in ports and stuff. You've played in AWS. It's a complete pain in the butt. It's like, oh, let me go into the security groups one more time, and just add another port, add another port, add another port, add another port, and it's just you're creating Swiss cheese, and Swiss cheese with a whole lot of holes in it, and that means that there is a chance that somebody could break through, and that's the whole idea, is we don't want that to happen, right?
Yeah, I mean that's part of the SRT mini server part that I like is that they have like proxies where you could disguise that IP address that you give out to somebody else who you're not going to see uh, on a project again. I don't like giving them the MCR's IP address, especially if I'm going to be reusing those ports and whatnot, and they could just. I guess you could use stream IDs and passphrases and all that, but that's the other beauty of AWS is if you're not using those elastic IPs, you just
Yeah,
ditch them. You just make them so that they're not elastic. You
exactly.
just let them die.
And that's the idea that we're doing with this, is like whenever we're done with the show, we just kill it, and we just knock it off, terminate it, and those machines, those IPs are no longer seen. But they're not seeing, the end user doesn't see the IPs. They don't need to, because all they see is a button. The button is already programmed to go to a certain IP, and it just does its job. So we can use, much like we moved to using internal IPs, and when we're doing the extra hours show and the special shows for office hours, we're using internal IPs to get access, but we're taking that layer out of having to go in through external IPs in order and sharing those, because it's just best if you don't have something that's sticking around. If it's always rotating, it's just like a lock on a garage door, right? Every time you put it up, it rotates it one more time, rotates it one more time. Same kind of concept. So we're trying to be that layer in between, so we're not having to worry about it. So there was one other big thing that came out that we were kind of playing with. You're familiar with Tuomo's SPX graphics?
SPX graphics, yeah.
Yeah, so we have, so I'll put that up. So we were able to take it, and it is actually a module that is in our processing engine. So it's actually a module part of the processing engine. So the engine runs in a processing engine. Then we take that output, which is an HTML5, and bring it back over into any of our productions. And so we're able to do that. This is just a simple little demo setup. As you can see, you've got full control, because that is embedded behind the gateway and everything, and behind the engine. We've got full control of everything in it, just as if I was logged into it directly, coming directly into the web page with ports open and things like that, or locally. So this is working completely remotely. I should have gave you access earlier. I'm sorry I didn't, but that's the idea behind it. So just small little pieces like that. Another one that I did some tests with is Singular, so we were able to do that. And then VisRT's FlowX was another one too. So both of those with a combination of gateway access. Now Singular actually works straight in because it's already using authentication, and so it already had a secure setup, and FlowX I think did too. I don't remember the process, but because of SPX being more designed at being a local, now he does have the cloud services, which is fantastic too. So he hosts cloud, hosts his engine, but with both Singular and FlowX, we were able to just embed it just like that. There's no problem at all.
And you just got me thinking of like these local high school games. Like my son, when he was in the local high school here, he had what was um, there was an app by Teradek, I think it was called On Air or something like that, where they would
Yeah.
do all the scoring and everything right there.
Yeah.
And you just got me thinking, like somebody like that didn't want to go out in the cold, because I went there and watched them one day and it was miserable. I was just like, you poor kids, you're out there, 3 kids, and they were cutting on an iPad, so it was 3 remote iPads, or three iPads on site, but they were all just wireless, and then one person cutting. And as you were talking, it just got me thinking, like, how can we get that commentary? Like, it'd be nice to have a smooth interface where it's like, okay, this commentator is going to be coming in from Pasadena.
Mm-hmm.
We got somebody doing the scoring. They're in Oklahoma. We got the TDs
Just
over
pass it
here. It's
around.
just Yeah, just boop, 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 boop. Here's all the logins. But how do you get this to where you could do it so inexpensive that, you know, it just gets known in the community? So like the
Mhm.
high school teachers would be a great spot where you just like give it almost away for free, and they're able to add SPX graphics or some of these that don't cost much, or even pull in tweets or things like that very easily, because some of that value add there that cost through some of the other providers cost
Yeah.
in our like tag board costs like big bucks. But
Yep.
if you could layer that in here to where a high school level operator could just hit, oh, there's a tweet that I like. There's 5 tweets, but I want to select that one and I want to push that HTML5 graphic out. And then the TD could choose to take it or not, but they could at least see that I have it selected and popped up and ready to preview.
You and I have had long conversations about bringing the kids or bringing students into the business. And I think we're both very favorable about that. And I have not given exactly what you just said a lot of thought until just then. So you've triggered me off now again. So so we're gonna get the lab going, and I'll go ahead and give some breakdowns. We're gonna get a lab going. We're gonna do some access, and we're gonna make this happen. And I feel very strongly that if I could make a 5-year-old switch a video show, not make, but enable a make it easy enough for a 5-year-old to switch it, then we should be able to do anything. And like I've actually, believe it or not, one of my test subjects of throwing this in front of is my mom, who's a retired teacher, and she's pretty fluent in computers and stuff. So she's got a little bit of a head of a lot of people her age. She's 83, 82, 82, 83, somewhere in there. And my dad, on the other hand, no, he was elementary coach. Not gonna happen. Just, I don't even know computers. But for her, I was able to just sit her down and let her walk through it. And I had to just sit back and watch. And she was able to just like, this is easy. This is simple. I was like, I wish we had something like this for some of the things that we used to do, just to make it easier for people to get to a point, you know? And and
Yeah,
and
when
that's what I wanted to
Lenny
hear.
started showing me in the Viz background, I had never seen that panel that allows you to build the two ups and the Emmys to where you know one touch and you got a four up. But
Hmm.
you could cut the show with an iPad, and that's where an aha went. Oh
Yep.
man, okay, now I see why you pay $1,200 a month for Viz versus 60 a month for vMix.
Yep.
But yeah, if we could get that kind of simplicity and some of those more powerful tools into the hands of people where it's a safe place to fail. Like there's a group on Facebook of like 20,000 teachers in there, and this would be a good place to let them just, dabble and play and then figure out the stuff to bring to the higher level. But yeah, I love helping out the guys that don't want to spend that kind of money, but they still got a show to do. It's
Yep.
still bringing a message to or entertainment to the masses.
And
Well, the small masses in our
that's
town,
a
it's
big
like a
thing.
thousand people watch.
Yeah, and it's like there's so many. I feel like there's so many ways out there of doing things, right? Not everybody needs the big iron all the time, or as we call the big iron. There's definitely, we've done a lot of shows with vMix. We've done a lot of shows with less even. Like there's a switcher built into the Sienna processing engine. I have used that probably 50% of the time whenever we needed to have something like in a master control situation. So we were sending up multiple feeds to the cloud, and then that was like those Tony Robbins events and such. So we would have it where we would just need a primary backup and then a tertiary usually. So we'd have primary and backup from either SRT or NDI Cloud, which is a Sienna product, and then the tertiary might be a live view. So we'd have to and then we'd put in delays. So we'd line them all up and everything. But that processing engine had just a simple little switcher in it. I didn't need to fire up vMix or fire up Vector half the time, because it's just, I needed to go, okay, one's good, two's not, three's good. Which one do I want? And it
That
was as
that little
simple.
switcher in Sienna, when you showed that the first
I
time in
remember your
office hours,
face.
that's when
I know.
I just fell out of my chair. It was just like, this is the future. You showed me the future, and it was at that instance that I realized I gotta just ditch all this other stuff that I've been working on, and I just gotta concentrate because I saw the future in that instant. It
That's
was
good to
just
hear.
like, I don't have to spend $1 million on a grass. It's
No.
like, okay, this is gonna come down. And now last week when we saw Grant from Black Magic show the Black Magic, I know it's only 4 inputs, but I mean, what the TriCaster Mini S is only 8, right?
Well,
I think they
technically, you got to do the math in the marketing way. So it's inputs plus DDRs plus sound plus cameras. Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to say. It's kind of like drives me insane with vmix going like, oh, we have unlimited inputs, or we have, oh, I'm using 100 inputs. Are you have 3 cameras? Are you really? Yeah, so it's one of my pet peeves with some of their things. But in the marketing speak, yes, I think that mini S is actually a possibility of running virtually too. uh, um, I know a guy that's trying it, working on it. But they do have TriCaster at the cloud. It's called TriCaster now. So there's a simple way to get on board there, and it's not much. It's like $100 a month. So I mean, it's competitive for sure. And then the other would be, and you could do a perpetual on that one. That's one of the big things too. That the vendors are listening. They're absolutely listening to us. And one of the other things that we have leveraged, and I kind of wanted to show you too, preview videos, multi-viewers, all that kind of stuff. It really comes into being it's a mix mash of things, but there's always something, that there's 2 things I want to show. So there's always something that holds us back. One of those is comms, right? So within, now you're going to see the reflection as I'm window in a window here. But as you can see on the right side, I've got the vision mixer, and it has audio, a small audio mixer. This is the small version. There's a full version now that has 12 inputs. So they've added some capabilities, and that's from the Sienna processing engine up here. The bottom here is TELUS. So it's a TELUS Infinity VIP intercom. And we're just recently partnered up with them to carry them as one of our primary suppliers. And so that's a WebRTC type of interface, and it allows us to do intercoms super simple, assignable to multiple people, single sign-on still. So you sign into NIMBUS, it signs into the intercom system also at the same time. You don't have to maintain 2 different pieces of that pie. That's really powerful, honestly. And it's not one of those things that's simple to understand. What I wanted to show you also was on the viewing side, this menu here. So at the top right here, you can see how fast I'm punching through them. That video right there, that video is coming from Central Control. So if you didn't know it, he has a module in there he calls it Connect, because everything's got to connect.
That's WebRTC, right? And you can you quality slide that?
Yes. If you wanted, right now, I don't know what version I'm at right now. I am on, as they call it, a beta. But this version has Ultra, and I probably slide the slider up all the time. Whenever it's like, I don't care. I don't care about bandwidth. But if you wanted to, you can bring it down. And one of the cool things it does do is it does use the GPU. So if you've got a really smoking GPU, man, it just amazes me. I told him this just the other day. It's like every time I look, I don't like my shot, my side over here, but every time I look at my iPad, my corner, it looks so good.
So crisp.
It is.
Yeah,
amazing.
I was impressed too, but I did manage to do a lot of connections to my Central Control Connect and have it start to bog down. And I was on a 3090 NVIDIA card, and I was just like, okay, there is a limit. I mean, if you're hosting a ton of I think it was only 8 or 9 at the ultra level, and it was done. It was just like everything started just moving, and so I realized that I couldn't go that many on that weak machine, because I was like, oh, I could do 100 or something crazy, but
no, it's definitely not
there is a limit. It's your machine. Yeah, it's not a multicast thing. It is a 1-to-1 relationship.
Exactly.
When you pull, you're pulling off that one machine. There's no
even with your 10 gig. Yes, even with your 10 gig connection.
Yeah, it wasn't bandwidth. It was pure computer power at that point. Yeah,
CPU and both, GPU and GPU. Yeah.
Yeah. So you got to be careful with that ultra.
I haven't pushed ours all the way. I'm running on a 40, it's a 4000 series. I'm not sure exactly the model that's in it. This is on my regular desktop computer, which is not powerful. It's a 8-core, maybe a 4-core, 8 hyper-threaded, I believe. So it's not super powerful, but it's just been I just hate to do anything with the machine because it works. But I did put a bit better graphics card in it. And so one of the I've got to look and see what it is in there. Now you've got me thinking about it, so I can tell you exactly what it has. The it's a 4060, so it's an RTX 4060 that's in there currently. But I know I've done at least 8 or 9 off of, or at least 8 off of it, because I was doing to multiple people. And we have a gigabit source, dual gigabits here, but our primary internet is gigabit here. So I don't think we're running into bandwidth issues there, but I think we probably need to push it, right? So
Yeah, just pop up in
maybe
Task
next week.
Manager and take a look at what's happening, because that's what I was doing.
Yeah.
I've got my central control open right now, and I was just looking at it. But yeah, run it with Task Manager and watch that GPU and CPU start to scale up. You're like,
But
okay.
that's what we bought them for, right?
Yeah.
It's
Well,
like,
what I mean is, if you're doing a big production in
yeah,
that machine, you're going to
all
have
right.
to beef it up if you want to have a ton of people pulling those multi-viewers. Because I'm used to
So,
doing it up in the cloud, where you could just, spin up another machine and push it
but
out, or
see, I've
add
ran
more,
into
go
the
to
same
G4D and
situation.
8X.
Mm-hmm. I've
Yeah.
run in the same situation though. Even in the cloud, it's not unlimited, right? Each one of those machines has a limit sooner or later, whether you're in bare metal or if you hit the bare metal, or if you're running it's bare metal. But if you're running it smaller, say the G4DN 8X or even a 12X or 16X, you're still going to have bandwidth, or not bandwidth necessarily, but
Well, you
you're
only
going to
get
hit a
one
CPU.
Titan, or
Yes.
it's called so
Uh,
you only get one
yes.
GPU, right?
Well,
Even as
no,
you walk
actually,
up, it's a
no. When
GPU.
you move up higher, you can get more GPUs assigned to that machine. So it
Uh,
depends on the type of machine you're using, of course. But that brings me to my next thing. So one of the modules that is in Sienna processing engine that is just recently, we just sent out a press blurb about it. You can see my nice comments about it. Is a company called Phoenix, and they're a web RTC CDN. They're in competition with Dolby IO. I used to use Dolby IO. I still do from time to time for certain projects. But Phoenix really came out of the box with a lot of different add-ons that really kind of fit our model better. And so the cost per stream, I'm not paying certain for bandwidth certain ways. I could do a lot more, and by sending out these multi-viewers and these preview programs and all the things that I need to send out, ISO records, whatever, I could send it into their CDN, especially the multi-viewers or whatever interfaces I'm sending out. It's an embeddable module also that's in Nimbus, and also they can open it up full screen and just go full screen, or we send out this little box. That's all it is. Simple little player box. This is PoE, goes on the network. I put the channels in that I want the box to see, which are coming off of our Phoenix servers. And now we've got a very easy way. It comes with a little remote and everything. We've got a very easy way to distribute our program outputs, program and multi-viewer outputs. So without stressing our local machines, there's certain places I'll use Sensor Control Connect to do that if it's simple enough to be able to use. But if I'm talking about a large production that I have, say, a team of 20 on, which we've done, where they're all, I mean, I had 12 people that were all remote for an event back in the fall. All 12 operators, all remote, and that's producers, directors, everybody completely remote. And that would, at the time we didn't have Phoenix, but I could feel the stress on our servers as we were, because we were feeding so many multi-viewers out, so many variations of multi-viewers out too. With Phoenix, I could send out 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 200, 2,000, 100,000, what about it? Pay for bandwidth, of course. But the idea was that we could actually send out something that it's not on our infrastructure to carry. So that's been a big, big thing. And we're actually about to roll out a couple more things in the press with them that we're working together on. So that's kind of my ace in the hole right now. And I've been really happy with the service that we've got from them so far. They've been really, really creative in helping us come up with things that work for cloud and remote productions, because they're not, I mean, they've got a lot of money into gaming. They've got a lot of money in, because it's all high bit rate, low latency type of events that they're doing. But they do have a lot of capabilities that are behind the scenes in the code that's just amazing. And so we're having a really good relationship with them.
Is that the Millicast stuff? Is that what that came about? Because
Millicast
Dolby bought
was
Millicast,
Dolby.
right?
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
Dolby IO is what Millicast was. So it is also a WebRTC CDN, but Phoenix is they're their own people. They're their own
Okay.
company.
So that's not the same code then.
No.
It's different
Yeah.
animal. Okay.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
there was a little bit of a learning curve, and having the coding genius that Mark is behind Sienna, he was able to put together a module that talks directly to their CDNs. So all we do is hit
So it's just
go, and that's it.
Yeah.
And it takes any NDI input we put into it in the processing engine, and I could send out multiple streams. So I could send out one, say I might have a basic multi-viewer, and then the second stream could be just a program, and then the third stream could be a multi-viewer with a quad split just for replay, and then another multi-viewer that's specifically for an A1 or something like that. And then it's all going into their servers and going into their CDN. And then from that point on the receiving side, I don't care how many people want to see it. I care, because the bandwidth eventually is going to cost me, but it's a limited number when we're talking 20, 30, even 50 people. But that makes me not have to worry about it on my side. I don't have to worry about my hardware being overtaxed and things like that.
So what's the difference between that and Nimble? I know like LiveX is using
You would do it
Nimble
yourself. All right. So Nimble, LiveX, and their VVCR product, it's very similar in some ways, but you're having to manage that. So we're taking that management layer with Phoenix in the middle. We're taking that management layer away. So I don't have to build a Nimble server. I don't have to know how to, though I do. I just don't want to. But I don't have to worry about managing that hardware and
all
doing
that
that.
WMS panel stuff and licenses and all that.
Yep. Yeah.
Interesting.
This is just turn it on, hit stream, and it's just like any other CDN. The clock's ticking, the data pipe is rolling, but their prices are really, really good, and they just gives us the redundancy, and also, if it's a mission critical, which we've had a failure of Nimble one time before on a Nimble server. That was locking up because of some SRT shenanigans that were going on into it. So we didn't, we had to figure out why that is. But if I had my multi-viewers on that same server, and when we took that server down to take care of the ingest problem, at the same time, I would have affected my multi-viewers. This, by siloing it so that it's just on that Phoenix CDN, now I don't have to worry about that part. So now and they've got a huge support team. So if there's a problem, I just make a phone call and they're on it. So that's kind of one
reminded me why I like to have separate instances for ingest, cutting, and encoding. It's just like I like my protection layer there, like SRT gateway or something along those lines, to where SRT mini server, I bring it up, and if somebody was intercepting that IP address and that port and doing a DDoS attack or whatever, then
right.
You're not going to bring me down completely on my cutting machine. At least I could throw up a holding slide or something while I figure out another workaround.
Microservices. It all comes back down to microservices, and the beauty of the world that we live in, working in now with virtual machines that we can put anywhere. It's just a matter. It makes sense, and that's one of the things that we're trying to make it simpler in NIMBUS, is to make it so that we can take and just have, whether we want to have on-prem hardware, whether we want to have a mix of on-prem, we want to have AWS, we want to have Azure, we want to have GCP, so Google Cloud, or whatever, wherever it's a separate data center. It doesn't matter. It's all controllable through the same interface.
Could you get that granular if you needed to, though? If you wanted to say, hey, I only want to accept SRT streams from this IP address or this range of IP addresses, so that I could lock it down. Can you get that granular?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's the whole point, though, is granular control of all the different modules and all the different pieces of us behind NIMBUS. That's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to make it as simple to use whatever hardware you have that you want to deploy. So for instance, like right now, I got the TriCaster TC2 sitting over there, just humming away, making a lot of noise in my other ear. Then at the same time, I could be leveraging a virtual processing engine that's in the cloud. I have a virtual processing engine here on a different piece of hardware, but I could actually have, or a vector, I could actually be cutting to the same show twice by sending out the control messages that I am. So everything that I'm using, let me see what camera that I can see that on. So as I'm using this TriCaster control surface here, talking through Central Control Core, which is also now talking to the TriCaster in the other room. Well, at the same time, I could be controlling a vector system. So I could be having full redundancy. Now, I actually could now, actually, because Vector actually just recently rolled it out, I could be doing the same thing that I'm doing with you, is I'm using a Zoom meeting to suck you into this meeting and into this show. So you're coming in through Zoom. Perfect. Looks great. 1080p. Perfect. Well, same thing. I'm going direct in because I've got a direct line right here. Might as well. But up in the sky, in the cloud, I could be using Vector and bringing in the same exact Zoom meeting, and both of us are in that Zoom meeting as sources, and I could be feeding both of both the switchers at the same time. And every time I just punch a button here on the interface, I'm getting the same thing happening up in the cloud. So redundancy also being a big piece of that too.
Very cool.
So that's really the big things. I know I kind of went on and on in a few areas. Sorry, I get excited about this. It really
cool
has
stuff.
Thanks. I really appreciate that, Guy. And I love that you're getting to see some of it a little bit sooner than others. But I really enjoyed building this project. I mean, it's been a labor of love, because it was one of those things that was just the whole time I'm like, there's just got to be a simpler way. It's just got to be a simpler way. We've got to have faster access. We've got to be able to get people involved in going to the simple things of just doing their job. It's like, just why do I need to waste 20-30 minutes getting somebody set up to do replay when they could just log into it? They could see the browser, they could see the multi-viewers, their controller automatically logs in, and they're ready to go. They're ready to go to work. That's where I wanted to be. So I think we're finally there, and it's very cool to see it come to fruition. And we've been using it for months and years and pieces, and now having it all come together in one place, it's just been really fun. So I hope you enjoyed it. That's kind of our behind the scenes sneak peek of what's been done and where we're at and what we've improved upon in the NIMBUS platform. So I appreciate all those that have watched, and hope you enjoyed it. And as we are moving forward, we're going to be back here as often as we can every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Texas time, which some people call Central Time. But as most of you know, everything rotates around Texas in the United States. So time zones and everything basically start from here. So we're going to be Texas time, 5 p.m. And whatever that works out in your local time, please feel free to join us here on YouTube. And if you want to be on the panel, send me an invite to jeff@pizzazz.com, or on the Discords, you can pitch me up there. Jeff Keithley at Pizzazz is usually my handle, and it would be a whole lot of fun to have you on the panel with us. Thank you again, Guy, for being with us today. I really appreciate you jumping in.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's going to make another episode of What Makes It Tick. This is all the way to, it's been almost a year and a half now, I think. So we've got a lot of these behind us, and look forward to doing more of them. Coming up soon in a few episodes, we are going to be looking at a new product from Ross called Carbonite Code, and we're lining up kind of get schedules all coordinated and things for that, which is a new a switcher that can be hosted in the cloud and virtually too. A lot of great things happening in our world and in our industry. So we look forward to kind of figuring out what makes it tick behind each and every all of those. So thanks a lot for everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you soon next week. As soon as that, I think. Yeah, next week. Thank you.